For a generation, the stage musical was thought of as an all-American monopoly. And suddenly there were 4 hit musicals on in the West End, and all of them were British. And astonishingly, all of them were the work of one man. The shows were Oliver, Things Ain't What They Used to Be, Blitz, and Lock Up Your Daughters. The man who wrote them, words and music, was Lionel Bart. Recently, I asked him how he came to write his most famous musical, Oliver.
Oliver started as a vehicle for Tommy Steele. And then, of course, I realized that he was too old to play the Artful Dodger and too young to play Fagin. And by this time, I'd opened Lock Up Your Daughters at the Mermaid Theatre. And Sean Kenny was the set designer there. And I struck up this great relationship with Sean Kenny, who was a poet and a genius, in my view. I mean, that word genius is used very widely, but I suspect that he was 10 years ahead of his fashion or time. In fact, he pioneered a lot of things that are happening in stage spectacular today inside musicals. I think everyone would give him that credit. So I touted Oliver around to every management in this country. I only had 6 songs that I was me singing and my secretary. And they all turned it down, you see. And I thought, well, everybody wants it. They all said it was too morbid. But finally, Donald Aubrey wanted to do it at the Aubrey. And we raised enough money, which in those days was quite a lot of money. In these days, you couldn't get a curtain raiser straight play on with it.
Oliver and his other big hit, Things Ain't What They Used to Be, were as different as chalk and cheese. So how did Things come about?
I'd just go there to rehearsals and we'd improvise. We'd grow the dialogue and the script with the author, Frank Norman. He was there too. And I'd just write songs and bring them in and teach them to the actors. And it was just a very organic affair. Very topical. It was about the ladies of the street just being taken off the street and having to go indoors. It was about this guy who'd been the king of Soho. He'd been in the Nick for 10 years. He'd come back to find it all changed. And it was very topical. And that particular show was probably responsible for stopping censorship in the British theatre, you know. Because the Lord Chamberlain would send scouts along, and we'd have to alter things. Like the builder is carrying the plank at an erotic angle and things that we had to change them. And of course, every night we changed them. We put different things in that they didn't like very much. And after about a few months of that, they got fed up. And we just carried on.
Bart always wrote both words and music himself. I wondered if he'd ever considered a collaboration with someone else.
Let me just tell you that I've just met with Andrew Lloyd Webber, and we've had a very good meeting, and we may well be doing some things together. He was amazed that I was ready to collaborate. But then I told him about myself and my collaboration areas. I mean, around the time we're talking about, 62, 63, Bertrand Russell phoned me and wanted to do a musical, and I spent 4 weekends going to Wales to do things on an essay of his called Satan in the Suburbs. Then I suddenly realised it was Damn Yankees, so that was abandoned. Then Richard Rodgers came over here after Oscar Hammerstein died, and he wanted me to be his partner. And we spent a few sessions together, and I went to America. And the result of that was, I mean, I did have 4 shows on the go, but the result of that was I took myself out of a gig, really, because I convinced Richard that he could be his own lyric writer. I told him how easy it really was.
Lionel Bart. A musical written by Bertrand Russell, that would have been really something, wouldn't it? It's a pity it never came off. But after Bart came Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice, and Britain has never really lost its lead with the big stage musical.